Hi guys, it's been an eventful week on the market, lots of Chinese and Singapore pumps, but for me personally it's been a tough week. I've overtraded a bit and I've also had to take a 20% loss on a stock that I traded pre-market and it broke right through my risk. And of course, as it's pre-market, there's no stop losses, so it just flushed through and I just had to take the hit. But that's one of the dangers of trading volatile stocks pre-market. And then I've also left money on the table on a trade, and then I've been on the money with a setup but consciously set the wrong risk, and then moments later it's ripped 30%. So it was a good setup, but I chose the wrong risk. So a bit of bad trading, risky trading, over trading, and I want to say bad luck, but it's not bad luck because on the one that ripped 30% I set the wrong risk, so that's my own fault. Good learning, and I did take two nice trades, so I'm going to go into the charts on those, and they were a first green day bounce swing trade and also a sympathy play. So let's go to the charts. So you're going to look at the first green day bounce trade that I took, which was GITS, and this is when the stocks had a big run up on high volume and nice pullback and trying to get in for a bounce. So this is the daily chart over here. It's a multi-day runner, so this is its day one, moved on high volume from around 84 cents up to around $3, and then it's continued its move, and then it's ripped even further all the way up to past $7. So for me, that's the front side of the move there, and then got a nice pullback on this day, and then I'm looking to play it for a bounce on this day here. So I'll go into the intraday chart on the 5-minute time frame first of all. So this is its first day one, and then it's continued its run and then had that second go at going even higher, and then the pullback here. And I'm looking to play it for a bounce around this area here. So it's had a nice drop in volume from its this day, which is always what I look for, and then it's holding support around this 246 area, which kind of coincides with some resistance, not exactly up here, but it's in the area of here and these areas here. And if I just go on to the 1 minute time frame, so it wants to base around that 245 area, and then I'm looking at playing it on this day here. So for me, there's no real entry here yet because I would need to risk off down here, and pre-market it is way too far away from my risk. So if I just zoom in, so what I'm looking for is if it's going to push past the previous day's close, which it started to do. So I took a piece on market open at I think around 321, something like that, risking off 318, 317, and then it started to push and it came back down and I got stopped out. So it wanted to go above previous day's close, tried to surge, couldn't, but then when it reclaimed that, I took a re-entry and set the risk just under this area here. So I got in again at 327, so my second entry was a bit higher. I did downsize a bit, and then it was holding above the previous day's close, and I was expecting it to perhaps do a bounce up to my PTs, but it didn't do that, but it held well above my risk. And at the moment I am seeing these first green day bounces turn into swing trades, so they're showing the potential on the day I think it could bounce, holding above red green, and then it's going on to bounce the following day or the next 2 days. I've seen that happen sort of 3-4 times in the last 3 weeks or so. So that's kind of the theme at the moment. So I held on to my position, and then because it was still holding above my risk, I just swung it into the next day, willing to cut if it breaks my risk. Then pre-market the next day, can see it wants to continue and have its bounce. So we'll just zoom in a bit closer to the pre-market. Definitely sold way too soon on this trade, but looking at the dilution on this trade, it was really running out of cash, and I think they had an offering in progress, so I was quite conscious that this stock could do an offering and I didn't want to hang on to it for too long. Also, it was hitting my PTs, so I just kind of sold into these highs. My best sell was for 25 and I ended up taking a 22% gain on this. And I did think about holding some YOLO shares into market open, and on retrospect I should have, because on market open, I mean, it went all the way up to like 670s, so kind of gutting. And I'm only actually looking at the chart now. This trade was on a Friday and I'm now looking at the chart on a Sunday. I really struggle with, once I've come out of a trade, continuing to look at the stock, because I get FOMO and I don't want to like re-enter the trade and like lose my discipline. And it's just a bit of an issue I have with seeing stocks go without me once I've been in them. So yeah, I'm just looking at this now and seeing where it went to, and yeah, definitely should have held some YOLO shares, but you know what, I'm really happy with a 22% gain on that. And then I'll go into the other trade which I took, which was nice, which was a sympathy play. So if I'll go into sort of the basis of this trade, was that there's one big runner, and when I say big runner, this was up over 5,000%. Crazy move. And this was a Singapore stock. So yeah, I can see after hours it's gone from somewhere in the 8s up to like $453. Absolutely crazy move. You don't see that every day. And what I'm looking for here, not looking to trade this one at all, but looking to see if a similar stock can move in the same way, because it's going to be a catalyst to move other stocks. So this was TCGL, and there seemed to be a lot of other stocks that started to move, also from Singapore, and they all had really similar names. It was quite funny to watch actually, but that's the way these things can move, just by being from the same country and having a similar sounding name or ticker. So the one I found was, so this was TCGL, and the one I found was TGHL, so very similar ticker name. And then I actually traded this. I found it too late, but I still got good entry. Well, I still made money on it basically. So this was the stock, which was also from Singapore, I believe, and different price range completely. So TCGL had come from around the $8 mark, and this is coming from like 40 cents. So not the same price range, but that doesn't always matter. But if we do look at TCGL, we'll see that it's a recent IPO, so it's only recently come onto the New York Stock Exchange in October last year. And if we look at TGHL, that's recently come onto the NASDAQ August last year. So they're both recent IPOs, so that's something to consider, that they're both similar in that way, both from Singapore. And you can just see, if we go back, like there's another thing going on previously, and then it's starting to get some movement and some volume in. So it's moving in sympathy basically, and the ticker name really similar as well. So by the time I saw this, it was a bit late, and yeah, I kind of saw it around here, or somewhere around here, and no, after this bit, somewhere up here. And so I am basically looking for where I can risk off and where I can get in that's close to my risk. So I was using just under these 2 areas of resistance here. So if I just sort of put a line there, risking off there, and I got in at 0.6310, I think it was, somewhere there. Just risking off below here. So it's not ideal, but I know that I want to get in this stock if I can, and I've got tight risk, so that's important as well. But if I'd seen it earlier, maybe I would have been able to get a lower entry. But yeah, it kept my risk, and then it had a nice rip upwards. My best sell was 94 cents and something, and I took a 23% gain on that stock, and I was just sold off all along the way, and then I was out of it by this point. So yeah, that was a sympathy play. So yeah, 2 nice trades that I took this week, but as I say, did a lot of over trading as well. So yeah, so at the end of the week I was feeling pretty frustrated and quite down on myself with the way I've traded this week in general, even though I had a couple of nice trades. But also just reflecting and looking back on the setups that I was in. I was on the money on some of them, my execution wasn't right, and over trading, yes. So there is some work to be done there, and my discipline, it needs to be better. It's a good reminder of where I'm at the moment, but I'm in the right ballpark. I just need to fine tune and just get better, I think. So we'll just see what happens next week, but I really want to have better patience and maybe trade a bit less. Just be a bit more picky and choosy with the trades that I'm going to take. So cheers for watching. Catch you next Sunday.